Hey guys, it's your boy Peter Lou, Real Wheel Deal, and surprise, today is not another TE37 video. Today I actually have VOLK's newest wheel, brand new design, the VOLK Racing NE24. And now we're gonna take a deep dive into it right now. So if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. I don't make a lot of videos. I only make one when, I think there's some quality content I need to put out or a new wheel comes out. So today is a really special day because I have the NE24 here. First brand new design out of VOLK Racing in the Evolution lineup in 7 years. So I'm really excited. And you gotta remember, this is the NE24. So the E stands for Evolution, just like Touring Evolution, the TE. This follows in the footsteps of really iconic VOLK wheels. So you have the TE, the CE, the RE, the ZE, and now this is the fifth one, the NE. At least I think is the fifth one. I hope I didn't miss one. If I missed one, really embarrassing, but if I did, let me know below. And every time VOLK goes to the drawing board to design a new wheel, they normally try and have a philosophy that they try and aim for. So this wheel, being the NE24, represents something called Gr.N racing. So if you don't know what Gr.N racing is, it's a format of racing where the racing vehicles are very, very close to the production spec vehicles. So the cars are homologated. They really resemble almost the road going cars. And with this wheel, VOLK Racing, they really captured their philosophy that they want their racing wheels and their street wheels to really meet in the middle, because all their street wheels, the ones that we used to know of, TE, CE, ZE, RE, they're able to go racing while also being used on the street. And the philosophy of the NE24 100% adopts that. They wanted to make sure that this wheel was good enough, strong enough, and designed well enough to actually go with extreme motorsport racing in Gr.N, but also being suitable to be put on passenger cars on the street. If you recognize the design, you know that lately in a lot of racing series, especially WEC 2017, they've been adopting this fin style wheel where it looks like these big flat fins and they cut these triangles out of it. So I'll put a picture of it here. You can see this is kind of where this wheel has imagined itself from. So it definitely based itself and its design on very heavily influenced by racing vehicles. Another reason this wheel was created was that in the Group C segment or all these passenger cars, VOLK noticed that lately a lot of these new cars are coming out. They're very racing focused and enthusiast focused. So some of the new cars that we have would be like the GR Corolla, M2 CS, or also GR86. These cars are really racing platforms that they use, and they enter them in these make series or to enter them in competitive racing. And VOLK decided to go to the drawing board and make this wheel to kind of suit for those amount of racing series. So this is really designed for that area, and that's why this wheel resembles a racing wheel, but also for the street. So first you gotta know, of course, this is being a VOLK Racing wheel. It's made by Race, and VOLK Racing is their forged lineup. So all our forged wheels are made in Japan. So this wheel is also made in Japan and fully forged. For this wheel, VOLK had to maximize its forging technology to get into this shape. So one thing that is also unique is that when we went to the drawing board, they decided that another way to reduce mass was to cut the amount of spokes down. So normally when you see these thin spokes, they're normally like 10, 12, 14, and the NE24 uses a very unique design which allows them to cut down the spokes. So one thing is the NE24, the N is for Gr.N racing, E for Evolution, but 2-4 is because it's 2 spoke to 4 patterns. So there's a set of 2 4 times, and that's why this is NE24. For it to have this reduced amount of spokes, they had to push their forging technology to the maximal to get it to be as strong as it is. A lot of R&D they also did was to kind of find where the strength was in a wheel and how they could distribute it differently. So right away when you look at this wheel, it's unique is that you think it's 8 spoke and maybe you're like, hey, it looks kind of symmetric. But then you start to notice, okay, these holes side by side, there's a small one and then a big triangle. So it's not quite symmetric, but at least the spokes are opposing each other. But that's actually like a trick of their eye. The crazy thing about this wheel right away is actually the spokes are not across each other. This guy's here, look at this one opposing. This is actually 1 centimeter off from here. And same with this guy to this guy, and this guy to this guy, and this guy to that guy. The wheels don't directly meet each other. And what happens is it's a different distribution of forces that they have. So it's gonna be on the opposing side, instead of having a spoke, it's a triangle shape that's combined up into a single here. That's how they're doing the opposing forces, is that each of these spokes kind of has a 2 supporting the 1. And using this design, they didn't have a spoke directly across from each other, which they were able to reduce the weight of 2 spokes. Another thing that they did with the wheel was to kind of increase the wheels, they would say like 3D depth and look, even in narrow sizes, was to use a special new kind of way to do the forging and placing, is that if you look behind the spokes here, there's actually another dimension of the wheel behind the spoke here. So this little bar here actually runs behind the spoke, and we'll get to that later in our deep dive. but that also allows this wheel to have a lot more depth. Another thing I want to talk about with these opposing bars is that a lot of the strength now, instead of sitting in the spokes, it's actually sitting in this middle. So if you look in the middle here, it's super strong, lots of material here. So if these holes are really deep, that means there's a lot of material up front here that makes the hub mount really strong. Why it needs to be so strong in the hub here is, you notice this is an 8-spoke wheel. So it's 8-spoke even, so that means this drill pattern isn't equal on the face. So they could drill this 5 holes, but you could also drill this 4 holes. And because of that, you're not sure exactly where it's going to be drilled. This flange area here needs to also be very strong in case they're drilling different patterns into it. So we're talking about is color. So there's 2 colors that this wheel is available in. The first color is shining black metal, which I have here. And this shining black metal looks really good. It looks kind of like a mirror face finish. If I move it here, you can see it's kind of got this black chrome finish. It looks really unique. I think it really suits the matching of the face of the wheel. So the second color they have right now is this matte Gunblack, which is also really unique. I like it because the other one is shiny, but this one, because it's matte, it really resembles the Le Mans racing cars that are being run right now, which is what this wheel was based off of, the WEC 2017. Also remember the days of the Super GT or GT 500. This wheel actually is inspired a lot from those wheels as well. So this color mimics that really well. So next thing up is sizing. Right now the NE24 in its debut size, only available in an 18-inch. And you can imagine that with all the technology and the things they've done for this wheel, it's currently only going to be available in an 18-inch for the time being. But I'm sure there'll be other sizes coming up. And width-wise, this wheel is from a 7.5 wide all the way up to a monstrous 12-inch wide. So this guy can be up to an 18 by 12 wide. So you can see this actually is really like a racing incorporated wheel. And 12-inch wide allows you to put a really wide tire on there, really extreme contact patch. Also with that width, it also has many different faces. So this wheel has a face 1 all the way to a face 5, which VOLK is known for having 5 different sizes of concavity. The one I have here is right in the middle. This is the face 3, and the other one I had earlier, the shining metal one, that one was also a face 3 design because they're both 18 by 9.5. Like I said, the design of the wheel is made so it kind of has like a 3D impression. So even on the narrow sizes, the wheel actually looks really unique and its features are really well shown. So now I'm gonna do a deep dive in the wheel and we'll repeat some of the information you guys saw before. NE24, so a total of 8 spokes. The spokes opposing it aren't exactly matched. They're off by about a centimeter. Visually, you can see this is like a little bit of a smaller hole, and this becomes a larger hole and it's a small hole again. So this pattern gives you that kind of fan look I was discussing. In the middle, you're gonna see that the feature organically has a spoke coming up to here and here. Kind of has this raised piece round hub where you mount the center cap, and this kind of gives like this organic feel in the middle. It looks really like a different pattern. It kind of resembles what I used to see in like the MF10 wheel. Has a really cool design as well. Another thing that's special about this face is these holes are kind of the largest they've ever tried to cut out. So if you look here, this hole goes all the way almost to the edge, and because they try to cut so much weight out of these large triangles, they actually had to design a new flange for this wheel. Right here where it's cut out here, the flange actually meets it back here. So this is a very thick flange on the face, which is something they designed to cohesively work with the wheel. So this strength bridge here with the flange works very closely with this triangle, which goes to meet the opposing spokes. So that's how the distribution of forces is done. Another thing, of course, that VOLK likes to do on the face of wheels, they have their new AMT cutting. So here we have forged VOLK Racing, and here has NE24, says right there to model the wheel. Raise Engineering, made in Japan, JWL and VIA. And what's really different about this wheel versus others is exactly where they cut it. So the AMT cutting is cut on this inside spoke. So I give you guys a zoom in of it, but actually there's got this little long cut that runs all the way around the wheel behind the spoke, which aids in that kind of 3D depth look of this wheel, even though it's very flat. And the last thing about the wheel, because it's 8 spoke, is it kind of looks cool because the valve stem is actually here. So you can see here, this is actually what I call like kind of 6 o'clock of the wheel. So you look here, the wheel actually looks symmetric. But the second I move it a little bit with that spoke on the bottom, the wheel now looks no longer symmetric because of that offset spoke I was talking about. So now we're gonna turn the wheel to its profile and its side. You can see that this very thick flange in the front is that new incorporation, like I said, from the face. And this flange is super thick. The back one also very thick. And of course we have these inner flanges. What VOLK chose to do in this wheel was they skipped the knurl cutting. So it only has these 2 flanges, but because of the depth of these flanges and they're so thick, I think you get a really good patch on this tire upon cornering. So you don't have anything to worry about, even though they chose to omit that tire knurling. So now look at the back of the wheel. We have some traditional things we really see from VOLK's top of the line wheels. Inside the back here, it's cut out a ton. So we have these holes for your bolting, but back here, really deep cuts. But you can see, because I was saying that the strength of this really incorporates the hub of the wheel. So this here allows you to run a little wide of a spacer, but also the strength and the rigidity of this wheel, a lot of it comes from the middle. So you can see they didn't cut a lot more out of it like they normally do. And of course we have our decals here. Manufacturing decal, this is 2022 March 8th. So this is a newer wheel, newly forged, 18 by 9.5 plus 43. And this is a 5x100 wheel that I have here. Additionally, we have our JWL stickers here, and of course our JWL Plus R. This is VOLK's Spec 2 Plus R. This is their next level standard above the standard JWL that VOLK tests all their wheels to. All right, so you guys came to the channel. Of course, what I gotta do is gotta weigh off the wheels. Before I weigh them off, I'm gonna let you guys know that modern vehicles, a lot heavier. They're putting out a lot more power. So lately, a lot of wheels I've been seeing from VOLK, their new designs, they are actually a little bit heavier than I've seen in the past. But that's because of increased strength and rigidity they've had to offer in the new wheels to meet today's modern standards, including some of the EV vehicles, which are extremely getting quite a lot heavier and putting down way more power. Additionally, modern technology for tires allows you to have a ton more grip, which exerts a lot more G's, and the deflection of wheel really needs to withstand these modern standards. All right, so the first one I'm gonna weigh off here is 18x9.5 plus 43, 5x100, which would be for a BRZ or a GR86. 20.4 pounds. So that's really light for the matte color. So next one I have here, this one feels a little bit heavier already. This is a 18x9.5 plus 38. So this one's offset, it goes more inwards by 5 millimeters, but it's the same width and it has the glossier finish. So I put this guy on. 20.4 pounds. This one's slightly heavier. So I guess my strength radar is still the same. I can tell if the wheel's heavier or not before then. I promise you guys, I didn't weigh it off beforehand. All right guys, so that concludes my NE24 in-depth review. Let me know what you thought about this wheel. Really brand new design from VOLK. Like I said, they follow in the traditions of the TE37SAGA SL, and now we have this one, the NE24. So really unique wheel, really heavy motorsports inspired. So you're thinking about getting that wheel. I hope some of the reviews, some of the features in there, I really highlighted some of the fundamentals and new things that came out with this wheel. If you guys enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time on The Real Wheel Deal, okay? Thanks.